Yeah, it's a hot one here today. Going through some kind of heat wave. It's like all anyone talks about on the news, which I find kind of ridiculous because this is a normal temperature for many countries in the world. It's just a bit warm. But
it's warm everywhere across Europe, though. There's like a heat wave that's hit everything. Yeah, it's like it's pretty warm everywhere. So even when I was in Spain last week, which is why there was no episode, I apologize. I was away and we weren't able to schedule in an episode before I left. But even there, they were like, it's going to be so hot. I was like, it's always hot there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when we did Scramble Camp, it was incredibly hot, but we just did Leglock Camp at my local gym, the gym that I train at in Ipon. That was good. I only went for a couple of sessions, but everybody was there, every day, training twice a day. High level techniques. It was really good. Huh?
You weren't doing the 2-a-days?
No, I got, weekends is, it's difficult to justify. It's almost like harder to do it when it's close to home. It's easier if I'm like away and then I can just 100% focus on the event, but
Yeah, because you can shirk your responsibilities and just be a jiu-jitsu bum for a few days.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the good old days.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it must be nice to see the boys again. And
on Saturday we watched KSW. My workmate Dan from Scramble buys the pay-per-view like every month or whatever, and it happened to be on Saturday, so we had a couple of pizzas and watched KSW. It was pretty good.
Hell yeah, hanging out with the boys, the Leglock boys. Cool. Well, we're back, and there is quite a lot of stuff to talk about in this episode, I suppose, because we did miss one last week. Apologies for that. But let's just jump in, man. There's tons of news, and I think one of the things that really stood out about last weekend was the comeback of Mica Galvao to competition. He competed at the IBJJF New Jersey Open, and he took double gold, winning both the medium heavyweight and the absolute divisions. He only had a handful of matches in the whole tournament because it's a relatively small local IBJJF tournament. He's just getting his feet wet after having been inactive for so long. Don't think I remember seeing him compete since CJI. Man,
no,
it's been a while, right?
I think so, yeah. Interesting to choose New Jersey. I guess it was just... Oh, haven't we spoken about this before? Is his partner from New Jersey? No, I can't remember.
So I still don't know is the answer. I'm still not sure where Mica is based when he's in the United States and he's with his family there. But he was training extensively with the Meow brothers at their gym, which is in New Jersey, right across the water from Manhattan, just the other side of the river. That's New Jersey, right? And he was training with them in the run up to this flight. I don't know, a week, 10 days, something like that. He seemed to be there for a little while, right?
Yeah, we sponsor Joao, so I could see it on his feed every day. He seemed very happy to have him there.
Yeah, well, imagine Mica Galvao comes in, isn't it? He's like, hey guys, I want to train with you for a week. He'd be like, nah, get out. Because whatever's going on with because whatever's going on with Melqui, I think people are pretty supportive either way of Mica, realizing that so far there's been no allegations against Mica of any sort. And I think considering everything that has been sort of revealed about Melqui and his activities, people are mostly very sympathetic to Mica. So I think there was a general feeling of excitement that he's coming back to action. It was a little unusual to see him all the way up at medium heavyweight, but he's got a bit of a dad bod at the moment, right? So
yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's got the baby, and he's even making lots of jokes online about himself being chubby and stuff like that. So
he's funny that he can just turn up out of shape and just double gold it, like whatever. And then there was probably guys in his division that have been like hyper focused on this exact tournament for like 6 months, putting everything into it, and then they saw his name and they're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, and he submitted everybody as well, and it was just classic Mica. It was really cool to see. He was just ripping submissions out of everywhere, and nicely. He wasn't hurting anybody, but it was just that really well-rounded sort of submission-focused style that we know from Mica Galvao. And I gotta say, it got me kind of excited watching it. I was like, man, I hope he gets his head down and gets training hard and makes a run. I'd like to see him back in action. I still think ADCC is a little bit optimistic. I mean, if he wants to go as last edition's champion, he could just walk into that bracket. I'm absolutely certain. I'm pretty sure that they're holding a space for him because of that reason that he probably hasn't confirmed one way or the other. But yeah, man, it would just be great to see him in whatever competition he chooses. I always want to watch Mica.
I still feel slightly weird about it. I mean, his dad is currently, accused of like some of the most heinous crimes we've ever heard of in jiu-jitsu, and to see him like gallivanting around just feels a little bit odd to me still. So I will reserve judgment.
It does, yeah. I kind of feel the same way. I mean, I just, it's separating the art from the artist. Yeah, there are some people out there that you don't like them personally, or you like that person and their activities, but you can appreciate the things that they do, and that's the way I feel about Mica. It's just whatever happens, I'll still always be a fan of his jiu-jitsu, let's say.
His jiu-jitsu is definitely very good.
And then speaking about Melqui, there was a kind of an update that came out. So as we spoke about a number of episodes ago now, it's been very quiet since he was jailed, since he was transferred from Manaus to Sao Paulo. And he's been in jail there awaiting, I guess, as the prosecution puts their case together, and he will eventually go to court and stand trial and so on. But right now it's just in that limbo. But there were kind of two interesting things that came out very recently. The one was a couple of weeks ago, and it was a handwritten letter from Melqui's ex-wife, who I didn't know this, but was actually murdered in rather mysterious stroke suspicious circumstances, let's say.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and there was a handwritten letter had been published, and this is something that we personally can't verify. This has been published by Brazilian media outlets, and whether it's authentic, don't know. The contents and everything, it's all hearsay, but it would be remiss if we didn't mention it, that this letter came out, and there was a really long string of accusations of domestic abuse, of harassment, and so on. And it was just one of those layers being peeled back on this whole Melqui situation that just really left you feeling, well, rather distasteful, let's say. Yeah.
So the contents of the letter is that he abused her and everything like that?
Pretty much, yeah. So Mica actually has an older sister called Sammy Galvao. And she kind of dropped off the radar a few years ago. I think I've talked about this in previous episodes, that years ago, because she's a few years older than Mica, so I guess she would probably be about mid-20s now, probably around about 26, 27, something like that. And this is way back when Melqui and the guys used to go to train with Cobrinha in Los Angeles. And somebody who trained at Cobrinha's told me that there was this 15, 16-year-old girl from Brazil named Sammy Galvao. And she's just going to be the next big thing. She's incredible. And I think that she was the first project from Melqui, before Mica, years before Mica. And I heard that she blew her knee out really badly in her sort of late teens, around about 17, 18 years of age, I want to say. And I'll be honest, I haven't really heard anything of her since in jiu-jitsu circles. It turns out that this ex-wife that this letter is alleged to have been written by is actually the mother of that girl, Sammy Galvao. So it seems that Melqui had two wives. He had this previous wife, was the mother of Sammy, and then he had the second wife, Deborah, who is the mother of Mica. So it just kind of paints a bigger picture, but it seems that if Melqui has been up to no good, it seems that that wrongdoing might go back a lot further than we so far knew about.
Yeah, it seems like it does. There's a lot of comments on that post as well, that you linked to about the letter. Lots of comments about the current situation, and yeah, it sounds pretty mental.
It does. It really does. Yeah. And then the other update about Melqui was that Craig actually posted this on his story, but there was a kind of a photo taken just outside the jail that Melqui is in. And it was a photo of Melqui's wife and mother apparently visiting him in jail, like basically sort of taking things for him there in jail, like food and stuff like that. And Craig posted it on Father's Day, of course, with a quip saying that about, nobody treats him this good, even when it's not on Father's Day. And then Melqui's in jail and he's got people bringing him food and stuff. I was like, very Craig.
Didn't she also have a big Jesus t-shirt on or something? That's like,
Indeed, she did. Yeah.
The levels of hypocrisy are just mind-blowing.
Indeed, yeah. So that's the only update we have on the Melqui Galvao situation. But remember we were talking about that, kind of what's going on in Manaus. There's something in the water in Manaus. There's just so many stories of jiu-jitsu coaches up to no good. And then there was that one. He was the really, up until a few years ago, was the really well-respected kids coach called Alcenor Alves. And then a couple of years ago, he was arrested just from an absolute laundry list of people came forward saying that he had abused them when they were children training under him. And he actually went to trial, and the trial took a few weeks, but he was actually sentenced last week to 178 years in prison for his crimes.
That's pretty extreme.
It is, yeah. This is the guy, of course, who was not responsible, let's say, but he was an early coach to some really prominent world champions. These are guys who have come out and publicly said that they were abused by him. We're talking guys like Matheus Gabriel, Mayram Alves, Thaleson Suarez, and others. All of them are IBJJF black belt world champions now. And Matheus Gabriel actually was one of the guys at Worlds just a few weeks ago that had a huge patch on his back saying in Portuguese, it was like, say no to abuse. So I think for a lot of these guys that, you know, it must be some sense of closure at least to know that their abuser has actually finally been jailed and will answer for his crimes.
I mean, I kind of don't remember them coming out and saying that, but that must have been such a huge deal. You know, I mean, it's a huge deal for anyone, but especially in a kind of, you know, fairly macho Brazilian culture to come out and say that you as a man were molested by a male coach. That must have been, I mean, obviously it's hard for everybody, but
extra difficult. Yeah.
Extremely hard. And I don't even remember them coming out and saying that.
It came out a while ago, but it wasn't picked up extensively. I mean, I saw it and I was aware of it because I'm a little bit more plugged into the Portuguese speaking of jiu-jitsu verse, let's say. It didn't really get much traction in the English speaking media. As we've spoken about, that, you know, a lot of the English speaking outlets are either ignorant or are willfully avoiding reporting the topic of everything that's going on in Brazil with people like Melqui and so on. But I did see it a couple of years ago when he got arrested. And but it took 2 years for him being in jail for it to come to trial. I think he was arrested at the end of 2024, something like that. So it's like a good 18 months, nearly 2 years. But I do, about what you were saying there about the difficulty to come forward and to say something like that. When he got arrested, these guys came out and said that they were among the victims. But there was one very difficult story, actually. There was a younger guy. I apologize because I forget his name now, but he was one of the victims. And I think he was one of the first to actually come and to go to the police about this. And that kind of really just opened the floodgates. And he did, and even publicly on his Instagram, he had people like kind of making fun of him, saying like, you got abused by a guy and stuff like that, you know. It's like, he was a fucking 10, 11-year-old kid, you know? Like, how on earth can you victim shame and victim blame a little boy? It's just, it was horrific to see some people responding like that. But he did not back down. He took on all the trolls head on. And he was also there at the trial and stuff. And he was one of the guys who was kind of keeping the sort of the media up to date on everything that was happening as well. So kudos to that guy, man. Yeah,
it takes courage. It's crazy. I was just looking at that guy's Instagram profile, and almost every picture is him with kids, and it's like, in hindsight, you know. Every picture. And his final picture is him with Ricardo Vieira, who was also implicated not so long ago, wasn't he? Or am I misremembering?
I think you're talking. I think actually his brother Leandro was. There was some allegations of harassment and sort of misdeeds, let's say, but no actual specific criminal allegations of abuse. No. But honestly, though, I mean, Melqui is one thing, but this guy, Alcenor Alves. So Brazilian jails have a notorious reputation as being extremely tough. I think most Latin American countries, the jails, they're not nice places to be. You're certainly not getting much protection and luxury treatment. And if you are in jail for certain crimes, then the gangs and the people who run those jails inside the actual prison system, they do not like people who are convicted of sexual crimes, especially against boys. Honestly, I think there's a very strong chance this guy will be murdered probably in the next couple of years in prison. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see them doing him any favors. And if he's in the general population, yeah. Is it, I mean, when you sent this to me, I was like, if you compare it, I mean, obviously they're two completely different cases, but if you compare it to the kind of slow progress on the Melqui front, and then he's just like instantly sentenced to nearly 200 years in prison. I mean, do you think they treat the type of crime differently? I don't know, or was Melqui just better connected, or are they just completely different cases?
Great question. The Brazilian justice system is rather opaque, let's say. And I do think, unfortunately, there is a lot of, it's a case of who you know, and you can get favorable treatment by having the right connections. Alcenor Alves definitely didn't have those connections. And I think now that Melqui has been transferred from one end of the country to the other, I think that he's not going to have those connections to help him out much either. So, but I would expect it to be probably at least 18 months to 2 years before we see Melqui go to trial, just because justice does move slowly down there.
Yeah.
If at all.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Well, pretty heavy stuff, but, I think that's the last that we'll be able to say anything about Alcenor Alves, and I'm sure we'll have no updates about Melqui for some time yet. But let's switch gears and talk about something cool that I saw on Instagram just this last week. This is actually really kind of cool, that the Renzo Gracie Academy in New York turned 30 years old. That's really interesting. In 1996, Renzo Gracie opened up his first gym in New York. And of course, they started really small. There were lots of stories about how they used to train in like this tiny little space, and then they moved around a few locations.
Next to a methadone clinic or something.
One of them was above a methadone clinic, and apparently sometimes they used to get the kind of the drug users coming out of the elevator, stepping onto the mats, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, So, and a long time ago when jiu-jitsu was nothing like it is now. But it was kind of cool because they had a big reunion at a restaurant in New York. And there were a lot of the very, very old school black belts were there. It was really kind of cool to see, I think.
Yeah, it's nice to see a lot of people that had like spread out coming back to kind of celebrate that. It's pretty nice.
I'm not sure, but Renzo's has to be one of the oldest continuously operating jiu-jitsu gyms in the United States to be 30 years old. Because if you think about it, I mean, who was there in the US before him? There were the Machado brothers. There were a number of Gracies, including Horian, Hoyce, Hickson. But 1996 was definitely, way ahead of the curve. Yeah. So I think
Very
Renzo,
cool.
Have that presence in New York, and he's kind of like not even the grandfather now, like the great grandfather of jiu-jitsu in that whole region, because there's just like this huge network of affiliated schools all over that sort of northeast corridor, New York, Long Island, New Jersey, and then it's spread all over the world. But there's so many Renzo Gracie black belts who have gone on and then had black belts of their own. So it's probably like 4 or 5 generations of Renzo black belts in that area now.
Not even just jiu-jitsu, because obviously you've got Danaher and all the super influential BJJ black belts, but then also who have you got? Matt Serra and Frankie Edgar. Yeah. Like people that made huge waves in the UFC.
And Ricardo Almeida as well. He came from Renzo. And then he went off into New Jersey, and I think Tom DeBlas actually got his black belt from Ricardo Almeida, right? So just the effect. If Renzo had never moved there, man, we would be living in a very different jiu-jitsu world. Because think about it, with no Renzo, there would be no Danaher. With no Danaher, there would be no Gordon Ryan. There would be no no-gi revolution, right? We would be living in a very different world.
Yeah, it's a funny little. Somebody needs to do a little potted history of that sort of. Well, yeah, from Renzo's opening, but then the Danaher era, it's pretty interesting. De Blas was, like you said, with Ricardo Almeida, right? And then his main students, I guess, started to go to the city for like more training, and then that created that whole connection. And Tom, it's interesting. You went to you didn't go to like the old place. You went to the same one that I've been to, right, in Manhattan.
The blue basement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how that gym also just has grown over the years, because I think it was 2 floors when I first went there, and now they're on 3. But, you know, they started out with just the basement, and then they took the next floor up, and then the next floor up. You know, it's just this absolutely massive school now, isn't it? So.
Yeah. There's a nice barbecue place opposite that called Hill Country. I think it's called Hill Country.
Really? Oh, I never visited that. Oh, that's great. I haven't been to Renzo's in years, man. I think the last time I was there was probably 2021, something like that. Because after the Danaher guys left around COVID time and they all moved to Puerto Rico, there wasn't such a reason to go back. So when I did go to New York, I visited Marcelo's and Unity for, like, you know, kind of pre-Worlds and stuff like that. But I don't think I've been to Renzo's in probably a good 5 years or so. I wonder what the vibe is there like now that, you know, that main competition squad has left. I
mean, I wouldn't know what it's like now, but I do remember even when I used to go and visit, you know, we would be like there to go and see Gary or Eddie Cummings or someone. And in our minds, they're like the focus of the gym, but actually they weren't at all. Like there would be fucking dozens of Brazilian black belts and instructors hanging around. There'd be classes going all day. There'd be like totally packed beginners gi classes going on in another room. Like it's a fully functioning, you know, just normal academy with like thousands of students. So even though maybe some of the pro guys have moved around a bit, it's still like probably a premium like jiu-jitsu destination for New York.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right, you know, just about what you said there about guys like Matt Serra. I mean, Matt Serra was actually got his black belt before Danaher, and, you know, he has his school out there in Long Island, I want to say. And, you know, it's just crazy because, like you said, you know, with Ricardo Almeida going to New Jersey, and then sort of Tom, you know, going to train at Renzo's, and then his students going to train at Renzo's. It was the same with Sarah, you know, like guys like Jason Rao came up under Sarah, but they would go to the blue basement as well. So for such a long time, it was this place that all the guys from that area would gravitate to. And I just think, man, how much world-class talent has been through that room over the years.
Very cool.
Yeah. And Renzo himself, man, he's crazy, but he's still one of my all-time favorite Gracies.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a real, what's the word? I don't know, like a magnetic personality. You can't help but be drawn in when he's there and talking. Well, when we were there, Anthony Bourdain was there, just waiting for a class. And I got starstruck, and he was wearing our T-shirt. He was wearing a Scramble T-shirt. And I wanted to go up to him and say, I drew that T-shirt, because it was the old reversal one with the skull on it, the collaboration that we did. But I just felt like, oh, you know, I was like, oh, I'll do it after. Or he looks like he doesn't want to talk to anyone or whatever. So I didn't say anything, but I wish I had.
I did go up to him and say hello, actually, because I thought, well, fuck, this is my only chance. Like, I might not ever see him again. So I did go up to him and say hello, and I chatted to him, and he was very pleasant. He was actually very, very nice. I went up and I said, I'm really sorry to bother you. But I told him a little story about how my mum actually had a crush on Anthony Bourdain, which I kind of told him that. I said, like, you know, oh, my mum, you know, she read your book years ago, and she kind of has a little bit of a crush on you, and that'd be really cool if we could take a photo together, and I'll send it to her. And he said, he said, yeah, well, make sure to say hi to your mum for me then. So
say hi to your mom for me.
Yeah, he was very cool indeed. Didn't know that he was wearing. I've seen actually photos of him wearing like Scramble gear over the years, but he was starstruck.
He really liked the Warriors T-shirt and the Scramble reversal T-shirt, the collaboration one we did. In fact, one of the last books he published before he died, it's got lots of high quality photos of him, and in a couple of them he's wearing them. So I have a copy of it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog is shouting.
Did I ever tell you about the time, as I'm wiping my head, because it's so hot and I'm so sweaty in here, did I ever tell you about the time, or did you catch it? Ffion competed on Who's Number One years ago. She had a match, and it was like a 15-minute, you know, decision win, really tough match. I want to say it was against Natalie Ribeiro from Checkmate, I think it was, or maybe Luis Montero. I forget exactly who, but it was a good match. It was a tough match. And we did a post-match interview with her, and she sat down and she was all out of breath. And the first words out of her mouth on the live stream were, "I'm sweating like a rapist over here."
Oh my God. Hey,
I was like, Ffion, come on.
You can take the girl out of the valleys, but...
That's what I said. That's what I said. I said you can take the girl out of Swansea, but you can't take the Swansea out of the girl. I think that's why Ffion's mum doesn't like me.
Yeah. Welsh people are a liability, mate. Honestly.
Yeah, we're all awful. But anyway, moving on. There's some cool stuff that just happened recently. Were of course, the ADCC trials, the final trials, the last trials as we head into the World Championships, which is going to be in September. So these were, of course, the trials in Australia. It was in the Gold Coast, I want to say. And these were the second Asia and, say it for me, because I always get this wrong, Oceania?
I'm pretty sure it's Oceania.
Oceania. Yeah. Okay, I need to practice that. ADCC Asia and Oceania, the second trials. Big news was that Lachlan Giles had 4 guys qualify. I'll just run through all of the winners very quickly, and then we can talk about them. So 66 was from Kazakhstan, Bezkat Kapashov. 77, Kaya Rudolph, the Kiwi. Bob Frias, the Brazilian living in Australia for many years, 188. Big Dan Schwart won under 99. Belal Atiabari won over 99. And then the women's divisions, under 55, the Japanese Kanai Ikeda. Under 65, Nadia Frankland. And then over 65, Matilda Reid, both from Australia. So, man, Lachlan having 4 guys qualified, that's pretty cool. It was Kaya, Dan Schwart, Belal, and Nadia. All 4 of them train directly under Lachlan. That's a good result for Lachlan and the team.
It's almost as if he's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, almost, right? Did you catch any of the highlights or anything from trials? Anything stand out for you?
Yeah, I watched the finals, the Bezkat versus, I know the other dude.
Baby Dave?
I've forgotten his name.
Dave Stolescu, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and man, those Kazakhstan guys are just so tough. It was unreal. Like he was hanging off his leg for ages, but the guy was just eating various uncomfortable positions and then just like crushing positionally. I am in no position to comment because I've competed once or twice and I've got stuck in positions and felt like I had hours to work and then suddenly the match is over. But I always wonder, like, if you're trying to leg lock someone who's just eating stuff like that, at some point you got to change tactics because they're just not tapping to a joint lock, basically. But
yeah, it's a good point, man. Like the Kazakhs, they are really tough, and I'm actually kind of happy to see somebody from Kazakhstan qualify in this because I've just been such a fan of their jiu-jitsu for a long time. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, that Dave is that really prototypical kind of Australian submission hunter with just amazing finishing mechanics and a really, really technical grappler. And yet you go up against somebody who just has that indomitable will to win. They're like, no, I just don't respect your submissions. I'm just going to power through them. I'm going to grip my teeth, do what needs to be done and get the win. And Bezkat is definitely one of those guys, right?
Yeah, he looked really tough, hard to beat, I guess. Even if I remember, David was going for like, it wasn't just like flinging heel hooks and straight ankle locks. It was like a fully locked in kind of Z-lock position that just looked like his knee was going all wonky, but he was like, nope, not tapping.
People just don't respect Z-locks anymore, huh?
Fuck, what's left?
Yeah, right. And then in the 77, Kaya, man, he dropped a lot of weight for this actually, because Kaya, I've seen him compete, I mean, way higher, and he's not a big guy, but Kaya is Polynesian. I want to say Maori because he's from New Zealand, and he's got that thick Polynesian build. He's often competed at 88. I've seen him compete higher, but he's got insane flexibility for somebody his size. His hip flexibility, knee flexibility is just retarded. It is just insane to see it. But yeah, he dropped to 77, which I think is actually a really, really smart move. And he beats a guy
because he's not tall.
Nah, he's like 5'9" or something like that. He's not a giant by any means. So And but yeah, he beat Josh Alsop in the final. So so shout out to Kaya, because he's been grinding for a few years.
I saw that one.
Yeah. Yeah, Kaya's been out there for a while now. It's been really nice to see him kind of finally get it, because he's done trials a bunch of times. I want to say he's hit the podium at higher weight classes. And of his 6 matches, he won 4 of them by submission as well. So credit to him, man.
Yeah, he's been grinding for quite a while now.
Yeah. The under 88, Bob Frias won that one. So his name is Robert Dib Frias. He's a Brazilian who also has Australian citizenship, I want to say. He's been based in Australia for years, and he has this reputation as just being this absolutely fantastic competitor. He's a veteran. He's 36. You know, he's been around for forever. And everybody kind of seemed to have the same thought going into this match, that it was going to be Lucas Canard and Bob Frias in the final. And it would either be Lucas by an early leg lock or Bob Frias by kind of winning the sort of the strategic game. And that's exactly what happened. I think Bob just, you know, did what, it wasn't a beautiful match, let's say, but he did what he needed to do to shut down Lucas and qualified. And that's, you know, that's the game, right?
Yeah, that's impressive, because Lucas has looked very dangerous for quite a while now. So yeah.
Well, Lucas ripped through that division as well. He won 4 matches into the finals, all of them by submission. I think his total match time was like about 4 minutes or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
He got into the final.
Yeah.
So.
And he looks super sharp on Polaris as well, the last few times he's been on. So.
Didn't he? Yeah. Man, I can't believe actually on our last episode when we talked about Polaris Gods, we didn't even talk about that Z-lock that he had in the very first match.
Did we not?
We did not. We kind of overlooked it.
That was wild.
It was wild.
First match as well, basically getting your knee destroyed.
Yeah, and that took him out for like nearly the rest of the whole thing. He came back in, but he didn't look the same after that. Julio Martin, sorry.
Yeah, that's some tough ligaments, because
Lucas didn't rip it, though, right? Lucas was kind.
No, he was very.
Yeah,
he was kind. He was kind. I don't think he's a particularly nasty person, but I think anyone else may well have just twisted that thing off.
yeah, exactly. Got to do what you got to do. And then under 99 was Dan Schwart, as we said, Daniel Schwart. Daniel Schwart, man, aka the man-child. If you're not following this guy on social media, I recommend it, because Dan is a very funny guy, but he's got some great techniques that he puts up onto his YouTube and his Instagram and stuff like that as well. He's really doing well with it. He's one of those few guys who figured out the social media game, and you know, he's not playing a character, he's not doing dumb shit or skits or anything like that. He just posts good jiu-jitsu, and it's really worth checking out.
I'm just trying to see. I can't remember if I follow him or not. It's very slow to bring it up.
Smash the follow button. I recommend it. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
But he beat Sebastian Attard in the final, 9 points to 0. And Sebastian, another guy there from Australia, of course. Sebastian is also a guy who's been really doing well on social media and stuff. Actually, he's very much the same as Dan. But Dan represents absolute MMA, even though he doesn't always train at Lachlan's gym. He goes through, but he trains at another gym elsewhere. Whereas Sebastian Attard is out of Sydney, I want to say. So we had Melbourne, Sydney in the final. And but yeah, Dan won that one by points. And then heavyweight was Belal. And I heard that Belal actually wasn't that big, that he weighed in at under 99 kilos, but he went over 99 anyway, because, well, with a teammate Dan in the final, in the other division, it kind of made sense to spread it out a little bit. And then, yeah, so Belal is apparently ridiculously strong as well. And also important to know, Belal is not Australian. Belal's actually a Kiwi. He's from New Zealand. A lot of people get that.
Really?
A lot of people get that wrong. But he trains with Lachlan. He moved to Australia a few years ago to train with Lachlan. But he said that I talked to Belal at CJI last year, and I wanted to know more about him. And he's just like, yeah, you know, he kind of maxed out in New Zealand, and to get the best training, he had to go to Melbourne to train with Lachlan.
I mean, I was going to say, with those heavier weights, once you get up around the 100 kilo mark, I feel like those extra kilos don't necessarily mean like you're better or more dangerous, if you know what I mean, because those guys are strong as hell anyway. And if you have a bit more mobility, you know, that's why Owen O'Flanagan was able to do well, you know, because he is still super strong, but he's more mobile than those guys and maybe a bit sharper. Maybe, yeah. I just feel like when you get up to those really heavy weights, heavier is not necessarily better.
Well, you want a good example of that. at this tournament was in that bracket, Jeremy Skinner, who, let's not forget, way back in 2019, competed at ADC, 2022, sorry,
66?
excuse me, competed in 66 kilogram division. Yeah.
So he ate the old Jeremy Skinner.
Yeah. And he is a lot bigger nowadays. He actually was walking around, he said, at 85 kilos, but he entered the 99 plus, just like Christian Osbeck did at European trials, right? A guy around about 80 something kilos went in at the big heavyweights. And man, Jeremy went through. He made the semifinals. He actually took the bronze medal. So
Crazy.
He's the only guy who faced Bilal on Bilal's run to the gold medal that Bilal didn't submit. So, geez, shout out Jeremy, man.
Very impressive. I think I caught his legs Americana.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
Like,
it's like some weird, like
creative
Americana with the legs from a K-guard entry. The guy kind of tried to scoop inside the leg and then ended up getting his arm ripped.
Pretty much one of my worst nightmare submissions because I've popped my shoulders quite a few times, and the idea of somebody's legs applying pressure to my arms in that position is very intimidating.
Yeah, just makes me think actually about what you said about how it looked like Jeremy ate the old Jeremy. It's like twice the size now. There was a guy who used to train a B team, and this is back when sort of Jeremy went from 66 up to about 77, and he was already a lot bigger than he was. Not as big as he is now, but he was still a lot bigger. And this guy used to joke, and he said he was like Captain America in the first Captain America film when he went from that really, really skinny little weedy guy into like this giant jack dude. He used to kind of say it was like Captain America, and I'm like, I actually sent the photo of Jeremy now at this higher weight class to him, and I was like, what do you think now? And he's like, holy shit. So
yeah.
Also, shout out Jeremy. Jeremy is a super nice guy, incredibly technical, and was one of the guys that when I was in Las Vegas last year for CJI, I went through a local gym, Damian Nitkin's gym there in Las Vegas, where a lot of the Aussies were training in the days prior to CJI. Guys like Lucas Canard and Bilal, they were on the mats, a bunch of other people. And Jeremy was actually living for a period in Las Vegas and training out of that gym. And we did a round, and I was picking his brains on some leg entanglement stuff. Man, Jeremy is an excellent instructor, as well as a really good competitor. And he has a ton of material out there as well. He has a Patreon, I want to say, or something similar, where he posts techniques.
I think he's created his own thing. I might be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I think he did create his own thing, and he's very, very good. Very, very, very good. But let's not lose sight of the fact that Bilal was the guy who won that division, and I think he's only been training for like a total of 4 years now, jiu-jitsu, right? Because people were making a big thing about how Bilal, when he went to CJI last year, about how he'd only been training for like 3 years. So I think now he's like not even 4 years of jiu-jitsu, and he's just qualified for ADCC.
Crazy.
Women's divisions. There was a Japanese girl who won the under 55, Kanai Ikeda. You know anything about her?
Yeah, she's from Igloo, which is where like Igor Tanabe, Fat Ninja, and a bunch of other good people train. She has like, I'm pretty sure she has a wrestling background. She's like elite in Japan. And it was nice. Like, I really like Margot. But it was nice to see Kanai kind of finally win that spot in the finals. She's definitely tried it a few years in a row.
That is cool.
And it was a good final too. It was crazy. I think Margot just didn't quite. It was like a 0-0 referee decision, and Margot felt like she was, because I messaged her straight away afterwards. I was like, that was a hell of a match, and she thought she'd done enough to win it, but like when you watch it, Kanai is the one pushing the pace and Margot's responding, and I think that is what did the trick. Kanai nearly fell into the trap that lots of Japanese people tend to, where like she nearly lost her head at the end, where she was just like barreling into takedowns and guard passes, and very dangerous guard of Margot, but she managed to not get unstuck and did enough work. So yeah, it was pretty exciting. It was good.
Solid wrestling background, you said?
Yeah.
Interesting then. So that is now the second Japanese person to win trials this cycle. Because in the 66 kilogram division at the first Asia trials, there was the Japanese Ryoma Anraku. He trains with Shinya Aoki. And that guy, basically wrestled his way through the entire tournament. Has high-level international wrestling experience, but I think is only like a blue or possibly purple belt in jiu-jitsu. But yeah, ripped through that trials and just absolutely out-wrestled everybody. So yeah, really cool. But man,
Japanese wrestling is elite.
it really is, right? If you follow anything about UWW, they're always talking about the level of wrestling in Japan. Like the last couple of years, it's for men and women, it's gotten so good, right? They're like, top 3 or 4 in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I think the women have always been really, really top tier, men too, but I think women especially, they have like multiple time world champions, multiple time Olympic champions. Yeah.
And then in the higher weight classes for the women, Nadia Franklin won the under 65. As we said, Nadia trains with Lachlan Giles in Absolute MMA in Melbourne. And then Matilda Reid won the plus 65 kilogram division. And I want to say that she is only, air quotes, only a blue belt and yet won the division. So that's kind of cool to see.
Damn.
Yeah, right? Yeah, because last June, she was competing at IBJJF Worlds and hit the podium, didn't win gold, but hit the podium as a blue belt. So pretty impressive to see.
I think, horrible thing to say, but traditionally they rank the Asian trials people lowest and they usually give them the champ, don't they?
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough day.
Yeah, it is true. I think especially in recent years as the European Jiu-Jitsu scene has gone a lot better. Basically the sort of the bottom seeds in that 16-man bracket, or 8 men for the women, were always the 4 trials winners from Europe and Asia, and they would get just thrown to like the toughest guy very first round. But honestly, when you look at the results from the European trials, I think that you have to weight them a little bit higher nowadays and not just automatically put them at the bottom. But I kind of feel like the Asian winners are going to get the short end of the stick on that. Yeah, and still probably get a very unfavorable place in the bracket.
Yep, trial by fire.
Indeed. Well, makes it all much sweeter if they make it through and they win. So we've got plenty of news to talk about as well. You've been, not you personally, but your team, the Polaris team, you've been very active in the last week or two, and there have been more names coming through for the Polaris GP. So these are the confirmed names. 7 of the 8 people have been confirmed so far. I'll just run through quickly. A few of them we've already mentioned, but I'll just go through them again. 77 kilograms.
Thanks for tuning in to Unknown Pressures. For early access to full extended episodes and to support us to keep making more, please come and visit us on our Patreon.